Let's go. Let's go.
It's April Fool's Day. I'm out. Just kidding. Just realized it's April 1st, and I could have just not showed up, and that would have been kind of dope. To troll everybody who did show up, but I wouldn't do that to Gunny. Hope you guys are having a great night. It is 8:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and just go ahead and bring him on, man. This is my friend Dan Gunsberg, CEO of Hero, trading god, legend of Herculean proportions in my own mind.
That music, by the way, that intro music is just
I made that.
Gets the people going.
I made that.
Did you really?
I did.
That is hot as fuck, man.
I produced it as a full track. I produced it many years ago, and then we decided to just clip it for the podcast, and it just sort of became like the permanent theme music.
What was your last? When did you last DJ, like official venue?
So this is crazy because we're going, you and I both, to Miami, to Mana Wynwood for Bitcoin 21, and that was the last venue that I DJ'd at. So like kind of crazy coming full circle from there to a Bitcoin conference. Yeah, it was so Bayern Munich was playing Manchester United at the Hard Rock Stadium. You know, Joe Robbie, the Dolphins, like in an exhibition. And so they had this huge, it was called House of Soccer. And they did all these exhibition games. Like, so they had all the like famous old Bayern Munich players played against all the old school Manchester players at Mana Wynwood. And I DJ'd like while they played, and then I got down there and I played like with all these like legendary dudes who were just slaying me out there. And then Two Chainz played.
Oh, amazing!
And that was it. And then back to Mana Wynwood we go. It's kind of crazy.
Full circle, baby.
Yeah, I think
I feel like that's what the world's about. I kind of right at it. I feel like that's the theme of like 2021, 2022 kind of is like this full circle of like like I was talking to a friend last night. He coined it perfectly. He said it's like the return to homeostasis. Like things got for so long got so tilted one way in the world, and then like last year was kind of like the piercing of the bubble, and now we're kind of in this mode of a nice like a reset, and
hope it lasts.
Me too.
I just hope it lasts. You know,
a vaccine-driven reset, albeit, but a reset.
Yeah, for a while at least. So listen, yeah, like you and I talk about this absolutely all the time, and someone's already asking like predictions for Ethereum. But you and I have talked at length about predictions for Bitcoin, and I know you have kind of a really specific prediction for a target. So can you talk about that? while I drink.
I don't want to necessarily support it, but I do think this cycle tops out at at somewhere around 147. I think the number is 147,860, 680.
Specific.
Very specific.
Very specific number. How'd you get there?
A fully diluted Bitcoin market cap, which isn't totally valid, of around $3 trillion, about 1/3 of gold. I think the one thing that's missing from Bitcoin, which we'll kind of see in the next cycle, is really like moving up the stack. And if you kind of think about how, you know, what the evolution of Bitcoin has been, you've gone from like everything being about Bitcoin at its base layer, and then things that got built around things that around other cryptocurrencies that spawned off of concepts of Bitcoin, and then now, like, which is kind of where we're at right now, and then you're going to get this real application layer, like in the next, you know, maybe we pause and pull back. I don't quite think that you know, when we do get to that number, because we'll get there. And we do, of course, it never fails, right? Exactly to the dollar. I don't think we're going to have the level of bear market that we've seen in the past. Like I don't know that it's going to be this 80% pullback, especially in Bitcoin and you know, and kind of some of the major blue chips. I definitely think there's plenty of DeFi projects that will kind of wither away. And Exactly.
Donuts.
Those will go to donuts. Exactly. And but that the cycle after this one will really be about application, like full boat crossover into real world. And you're starting to see like hints of it now, but it's still not quite there. Like you think about what had things that like Uniswap, for example. You know, my understanding of its daily actives is somewhere around 35,000.
I would think it would be so much higher.
So much higher. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd think it would be, right?
Yeah, I would think it'd be way, way higher.
And we're just not there yet. And it's not to say that that the applications of things will spawn off of things like Uniswap, or things will be built to it, or it'll become part of a larger system that then will have application layers that will drive into like where you're going to start seeing like this is when you're going to see the rest of planet Earth kind of show up. I don't think they're going to show up in crypto Twitter necessarily, but
I thought crypto Twitter was a perfect
the only spot.
Perfect, right. It was a perfect slice of actual reality.
Right.
But what's interesting, actually, if you had said those targets 6 months ago, which you did, by the way, people would have called you crazy. But now it's like 3x.
Yeah, it's not that bad, right?
Yeah. And we did actually, I did a newsletter thing on it, but my assistant actually did this pretty heavy research, basically averaging every single prediction that he could find for the cycle top, like everything from it's going to 0 and 3,000 to $1 million moon boys.
Mm-hmm.
And the average was 235, 230, 235 across all of them. And everybody knows that humans are really bad at making predictions, but when you average them out, it's the parable of the ox. It's it's a thing,
It's the reality for all of us, though, is that nobody knows.
I have a good question, actually, that I saw someone ask on Twitter. At what point do you not wake up in the morning and check price and wonder if the rug's going to be pulled? At what point is it gold or silver or a stock or something where you don't care? You don't think I need to check my portfolio every day to see what's happening, because it should be that way at this point. I think it's matured enough that sure, it'll be volatile, but
that is a really good question. And I think for some people who are buying Bitcoin through some proxy, or getting exposure to crypto through some proxy, whether it's retail buying it at GBTC or something like that.
Right.
I don't think they're waking up pulling the eye boogers off and saying oh my God, my eyes won't focus on this blockfolio. Sure. What's the fucking price?
Michael Saylor's in it for the long haul. He doesn't give a shit what it does tomorrow. I just part of it might be also security. I'm also checking to make sure I haven't been hacked.
I mean, that's been the bane of my existence since we launched here, and pretty much since I've been in Bitcoin, or been in crypto in general. So, which is going on 6 years now. So,
yeah, so you're pretty early. Someone's asking for a prediction for ETH. What do you think about Ethereum?
4,000, 3,800.
Yeah, but I'm calling 36 right now, at least now. Yeah. I mean, I think we could see 10, but I don't think that's I think that's way in the future. But I think that we're going.
It's when you get there, right? It's to me, it's so much of the how you get there. If we go there on a parabola and it's just basically a major liquidity vaporizing all the way up the order book, and just market makers are I'm fucking out of here, and there's just no volume, and there's just mad dash to 4,000. That would scare the shit out of me.
Well, that's when you get those 70-80% pullbacks, because I mean, I think Ethereum has institutional interest. Mm-hmm. But I don't think there's a floor on Ethereum like there will be with Bitcoin. You talk about those cycles and not having an 80% drop. I just think that's because of the reducing supply on Bitcoin and just much stronger hands with bigger positions. Much stronger hands
with bigger positions. It's just your price is going to look cheap from wherever people are first learning about it, and it's there's just new floors being set, right?
Well, I think 60,000 Bitcoin looks really cheap to really big money. In fact, it looks 100%. Too cheap. It looks too cheap to buy.
It's you think it's still not there.
I think they need the $3 trillion market cap
to have it make sense. Yeah, you know what? You're 100% right. To have big look at, I think that, I mean, I know that there's a lot of proxy investment, like, there's big hedge funds that have legitimate institutional money that are active in these markets.
Yeah.
But it's definitely the more advanced, investment managers who are managing those pension funds and that institutional capital that's putting that to work. It's not quite so easy, but I think I definitely think that along the lines of what you're saying, I agree with that they need to see much larger capitalizations in order for it to make sense.
I talked to Raul Paul yesterday, which will be on the podcast in a week or two, and he said 10 trillion. He was like 10 trillion, and we get the pensions and we get everyone. And he said it as if it was like a passing inevitability. So, I mean, just to imagine that's 10x basically where we are now, which is.
Dude, I mean, look at how much money can be printed, and we'll get there.
Yeah. Yeah. And his point. Yeah. And at that point, and I kind of made the point, and he sort of clowned me, to be honest. I said, Michael Saylor had this conference a couple months ago, 2,000 companies. We haven't seen a single announcement. And he was like, yeah, we haven't seen quarterly earnings, and it takes a really long time, dude. He was like, they don't do due diligence in a month. I just thought a lot of them would be closer. But I mean, totally. Pensions take 3 years to do due diligence on an asset.
It's crazy.
And once they buy it, they can't sell it. They literally can't sell it once they buy it.
No. We were just talking about, somebody wrote, Gunny, talk about the pensions. No, we did when we were on our Deltafy a couple of days ago on our Hero Show. We started talking about this, and it was the same. That's it. Part of that taking too long is part of the problem, because I have this whole thing that, and I've seen it happen time and time again, where pensions are the top usually.
Yeah,
they're usually the ones buying top. They don't like you said, they'll withstand because once they're in. They're not getting out, right? And but to cycle, the end of the cycle can be driven by what is effectively the largest amount of money that gets poured into the market, which is probably why you start seeing that, and you start seeing that type of money coming in, and you start seeing retail get in front of that and traders get in front of that. Yeah, 10,000 on Ethereum might be interesting, and 9 trillion. So where does that put us? About what is that? 3 times on one? I mean, it's 420,000, something like that.
Yeah,
that actually doesn't sound crazy.
I mean, nothing sounds crazy after you look at it. Only sounded crazy before you consider that in a year we've gone from sub 4,000 to 62.
I know,
it's crazy.
It's insane.
You make the same move from here, and you're way higher than any numbers we're talking, 7, 8. Right.
I mean, so I think if massive. You look back and you're and you say, well, I mean, what is it going to take for interest rates to go up? The two things to me that could really blast Bitcoin are rising interest rates and probably rising interest rates and regulation. But so really, I think we're through a lot of regulatory hurdles with Bitcoin and just with digital assets as a whole. The ones that put a lot of fear into the market, maybe 5 years ago or 4 years ago, whatever. But now we're definitely, to me, it's just about interest rates, and it's about money printing. And if that spigot turns off and rates start going up, I think you would definitely start to see some type of correction. But
yeah, I don't see it anytime soon. And yeah, I don't see 80. I don't see 80% drops. But somebody asked, and this is a perfect question to segue into something I'm sure you want to talk about. So, do you know any platforms that you can buy options on tokens? Kind of your thing.
That's funny. Well, yeah, definitely on Hero you can, and although they're they're unique options. They're called light exotics, and we have a couple different variants of them. But have been running that for quite a while. So and right now what are we running? We run Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Link. What am I forgetting? Sushi Swap, and those alts have done exceptionally well on the platform. Gotten a lot of interest out of it, and it's really nice to see. You start to see a lot of really intelligent traders come to it and understand how to use these to effectively what we have are things that in a vanilla option would be very much analogous to like very tight call or put spreads. And so and a lot of guys know how to use these to hedge, or they're using them to speculate, with the fixed risk level and kind of get the nonlinear payoffs that come with with options when you know what you're doing with them. So it's been really exciting to see all that grow. So
this dude has set probably a world record for annoying comments in the last. We've been up for 60 minutes. Do you have any thoughts on pancake swap so that he'll stop?
I wish I did. I've been watching that, but Yusuf, I'm very sorry. I have no comment on pancake swap.
He would also like to know if I'm drunk. Yes, I'm wasted because of my ignoring your comments.
And it was a Scott, you drunk.
Scott, you drunk?
Oh, is that how you said it? Yeah.
I don't know. So I don't know. It was maybe it was a statement. Maybe it was not a question. He was accusing me of being drunk. Yeah, I don't know about pancake swap, dude. I don't know about your token bird, but he said he has his life savings in it, which seems like a bad idea.
That's a bad idea.
Whatever it is.
Why not BNB?
You could replace it with
BNB
anything.
BNB is a better bet probably for your life savings, I would put, over pancake swap. So
he said, dude, token burn.
Oh.
2 words, bro. Token burn. Yeah. So talk more about ticks and wicks.
Yeah. So what we did is we created these more simplified ways of trading options, where and how we present them actually is a little bit different. It's a little more gamified, where as opposed to presenting it with like options Greeks, which is, if you were going to go look at standardized options, you'd be looking at things like your delta and your gamma and your vega, which is your volatility. All of that gets compacted into what effectively ends up being a probability of the event happening, and then we convert that into odds. So effectively, something that has a 10% that, based on the modeling or where the market makers are pricing it, is a 10% probability of payoff, is really like a 10x, or something that has a 5% is a 20x. So if you're buying a 20x, and you put $100 into it, and it goes to the strike, you're earning 20 times your initial position. So
not bad.
And that, options provide amazing nonlinear payoffs when you do these right. And there's also the other side of it, where like something like when I'm talking about something that has a 5% probability, it's got, you're gonna lose plenty of those, and then hopefully, before 20 chances, you get one that actually
lose
pays
12,
off.
win 1, and you've killed it, right? So.
Which is a really much smarter but much tougher way to trade options, because you're kind of like more like long volatility, and most of the time volatility is pretty contained, and so you just kind of bleed, and then get the payoff. But then the other side of it, you can take the other side of these, which is like the high probability event, and effectively that's really called like yield harvesting, and
right.
And we call it like it's like a risk yield, so to speak, and you're just collecting yield. Like right now, for example, this is crazy, but like you can collect for the June 25th link $6 touch. So link would have to go to $6.
I was to say it's a hell of a drop
by June 25th. And if it right now, to say that it won't go there, it's that market's paying about 40% on your money.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I wish I wasn't American. I wish I wasn't an American right now.
Yes, that's the other thing. This is not.
I would take that bet.
Blocked for United States, for people from the U.S. So, but it is really it's super interesting, and it's a super simple way to really access options, and they're complex products normally, and so being able to deliver them simplistically is really been cool.
Yeah, this dude said, "Will ETFs and larger institutional buy-in secure any floors?" Yeah, I think that's. I mean, I'm assuming you're saying will it provide that floor, and I think I think that's why we're both kind of saying 80% drop is unlikely, because
Yeah.
I don't think you'd even be able to have enough to sell to drive price that low if that many people are holding. I just don't think you could do it. So yes, I think that the answer to that is yes, that the bigger the money, the stronger the hands. Like these guys, companies aren't buying Bitcoin to sell it in a month.
No.
Not scalping. You know what I mean? They really are moving it off exchange. If you're buying something as a hedge against the cash reserves in your portfolio, it's not a trade.
Exactly. It's interesting, like that they're saying that they're using them as hedges, but they're buying these like little amounts. So if either they're expecting some massive upside event, or like I don't
zero,
know.
Fine. Let it go to zero. Who cares? It wouldn't even matter to them. Yeah.
Right.
It's 2% of your.
How much does Saylor? What does Saylor have as a percentage of their?
Oh, Saylor now is like as a percentage of market cap, it's like half or something. It's whatever it is. It's ridiculous.
God bless that guy.
But it's important to realize like he's the only person that's going to do that, right? Because like as a percentage of the market cap of the business, I think like he's a Giga Chad on a level that I don't think many people can quite comprehend. But like, and the company's only like an 8 trillion market cap. So like you start talking about like companies with 100, like Square, like $100 trillion market cap or something, and they buy 1% or 1.5%. I think that's what you're going to see from institutions.
BlackRock bought $400,000 worth of Bitcoin.
Oh my God, it was like 60 strikes. Yeah, it was 60 contracts or something. But maybe
that's an option. It's coming.
But I don't think that but to that point, like I think they're just dipping their toes in and testing it because I don't think they would have taken the time or the legal fees even to file that they were interested in doing it if they were only going to do it. I think it's literally probably like a guy, like it's like one of us, like sending a test transaction before we send the rest.
When I read that, the first thing in my head was like, okay, so this is their play to say, so they can sit in a meeting and say without lying that they're in Bitcoin.
So true. So like when they get the pressure from their clients who are like, what's up with Bitcoin? Oh, we're totally doing it.
Oh, we're in it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was asking, does banks have a place in the life insurance market? That is, I don't know if you have an opinion on that, but I mean,
does crypto?
Why not?
I mean, there's a good point there, and obviously insurance pools are a form of institutional capital. There's a lack of yield right now, and when you're doing, when you're an actuary calculating cash flows and things on life insurance policies and big pools of life insurance policies, you're trying to figure out, how much does this thing need to make for us to be profitable, and in some, X% standard deviation event that has to be paid off, like what is our risk in it? And for for pretty much forever, you were able to capture yield. And if you knew that you could lock in some level of yield, then you would be able to take that and make calculations. And then it's slowly turned into this like risk on thing where you needed more and more exposure to alts and to different types of investments. And now you're in this position where there's no real yield anywhere. Like, find it for me. Like, there's nothing, right? And really the only place to find it has been in decentralized finance. And then I think that is something that the rest, that is a very nice on-ramp for mass adoption, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so I think the next generation, what you see of these like kernels coming out of DeFi, like things like Aave Compound, they're incredible. Like those are here. Like, I think they got to try to fuck those up at this point. And I think things like that, I think networks around, around exchange and trading and options, which is what Hero Network is building out now, in our decentralization play. You're going to see these things continue to evolve and get bigger and bigger, because ultimately that yield is what is going to drive the institutions to this, to crypto. Yeah, that makes total sense. So that's a nice segue, because I know that you guys obviously are building on Solana now, or moved Solana. So it's a huge play when you're centralized
effectively a centralized exchange to move towards decentralization as a business. So like, why do that? And I mean, you must have, that's a pretty big bet on what the future is going to look like.
Yeah, we always wanted, we always knew it was in the cards to do it. It just was a function of how and when. And I think, part of it was kind of what transpired last year with, just really socially and just like the level of inequality that existed like globally. It just has gotten so far one way. And,
right.
And I really started to dig deeper into like what are going to be the solutions to this? And it really spun back to crypto as kind of cliche as that sounds, but like, and also like this concept of, I was reading a lot about this concept. I've been researching a lot about this concepts of community capitalism, and like really community capitalism is what a robust crypto network is, a decentralized network is. And like everybody who's a part of it is putting effort into it. They're being rewarded for their efforts. And, and we've put into motion something that ultimately now kind of drives the business towards a couple things. One is, removing lowering the risks of censorship and, kind of single point of failure and things like that. And building out, really what we're building is exchange tooling and plumbing for various types of options. And, initially on these pari-mutuel markets that we created, that there are these unique types of options. And then we're going to be doing it into vanilla options, more standardized stuff. And building this tooling and plumbing, thank God that Solana, has evolved to where it is. And that was another driver for it. Like we would not be able to do it without the speed of and throughput capabilities of Solana and building to Solana.
Is that why you chose them?
Yeah. And initially we actually were going to do this where we were going to do Solana as a transaction layer and then an ETH banking layer. But the Solana community ecosystem has evolved well enough where we can compose with enough, projects to, put a full scope system in place. And so we're building the kernels of that now, and all the accrual of value of that network and all the transaction fees, everything is all going to drive back to token, which is really exciting. And it's like, we've kind of, I say it in our town hall meetings all the time, like, we want to put something in motion and get the engine running on it to where this needs to grow much larger than us. And that to me is like one of our pillars of success of putting, like, can we build this tooling and plumbing and get it to a place where there's enough other groups involved, there's enough, it is disintermediated to the level where we're no longer relevant in it. And that to me would be really exciting. And it would know that there would be sustainability for the long term that way. And so, and kind of back to that point of like, just the level of inequality and what's going on in the world. Like, I have kids, you have kids. Like, I took it really hard in 2020 in terms of like, I was like, this is fucking enough. Like, this is just like, why are people shooting people right now? Like, and why are people like killing people with skateboards? Like, this is like, it was so surreal and so ridiculous on so many levels, but it almost like needed to be done. And I understand like the frustrations that were existing, and things were bubbling over, and it just like got to that point. And I kind of looked back on it, looked at it and said, like, what is going to solve this? And like, how do you bring things together? And like, I don't think like Boston Dynamics is going to solve it necessarily, right? Like, creating robots that are going to do the work of humans is not going to solve this, right? Networks that anybody anonymously can participate in and earn from, or put effort in and be rewarded for it, and be part of an ecosystem that is growing, that you want to support, kind of becomes your own land that you want to take care of. And we've really leaned into that hard, and ultimately that's more important to me. And I think that we have the possibilities, when we set this properly, of letting the community start to build and run with it, and it can grow into directions that we've never imagined it to. And I think that's kind of the awesome. Focus, and that's kind of where we're going with it. So
someone had a very specific question for you. Question about here: how is probability calculated?
So specifically in Tixwix, obviously he's referencing. So each one of those markets it's pretty simple. It's 0 to 100. Think of it that way. And the market makers, the liquidity providers are making the market on it. And at any given moment, there's going to be buys and sells and whatever. And wherever that market is trading, if it's trading 5 cents. So if it's like from 0 to $1 or 0 to 100, 5 cents is the equivalent of a 5% probability, and that's being set by the market.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Cool. This guy's a really good question, actually. Based on the volatility of crypto, specifically the larger market caps, how should middle age invest? And then he followed up with, best way to introduce crypto to my folks who are 5 to 7 years from retirement. What role can it play?
Is he asking me for a specific reason about middle-aged people? Or?
I don't know, but I think we can both address that. First, I got my parents in Bitcoin, I don't think that it's necessarily an age thing. I just think that like anything, listen, if you buy like a mutual fund that's targeted to retirement, it rebalances over time, right? And so like if you're 25, you buy as much fucking Bitcoin as you want, whatever, have at it. If you go broke, it doesn't matter, but you can't tell that to a 65-year-old or a 70-year-old.
You know what? Yield. That's my play. Yeah.
That's true. I mean, they can just park it somewhere too and just like get their 5 or 6 or whatever percent and
put in BlockFi, go to Coinbase and pay the spread, because the simplest, you're not going to, what you're not going to do is hand your parents a ledger and say here's the 24 word seed phrase.
Yeah. No, you can't do that. Yeah. And that's the biggest barrier to mainstream adoption in that regard. And so I was talking to Richard Byworth, he's the CEO of Diginex or Equus. I don't know if you know him, but he was basically like, dude, I have a lot of crypto. And he's like, I don't feel comfortable. He's like, I run a custodian. He's like, I would much rather put it in a custodian than hold it myself.
It literally feels like Russian roulette. When you're moving big blocks in a treasury, it legitimately feels like.
Yeah. So I think that, it's fun to say, not your keys, not your Bitcoin, and not your coin. And I agree with that. And I think that for people who are younger and the bulk that's definitely a good approach. But I think the way that we get 65-year-olds is that it feels like their bank. They go and they deposit and they buy and they do exactly what they would do in the same manner they do it. And they don't worry about, you don't want to have them moving it. Like, what if you told someone that you have to move your cash out of your bank account into something more secure that's not insured?
I love what FTX did with the FTX card now. Things like that just make it, you don't need your bank.
Yeah.
You literally can run it all there, and the yields can be so competitive. I mean, competitive to the real world, sure, because
competitive is better than zero.
Zero,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't try to, nitpick it and say, well, they're paying me 7, but I can go over here and do this very crypto-esque thing and get 15. No, they're taking the premium because they're providing the service. So make it easy and get your parents aren't going to feel like they're going to be like, wait, this is crypto. It doesn't feel like crypto.
That's the point, right? This is bringing tools that are familiar for the mainstream. This is do you guys really
yield, man. That's it.
Yield. You're right. I mean, tell them they can get interest. That's something they're familiar with from the 80s.
Totally.
Yeah.
Paul Volcker's not coming back. I can promise you.
What was the yield on your first bank account?
Oh, 13% or something crazy.
Yeah.
There was. I remember my grandfather, when I was really learning about finance, when I was too young to be learning about it, but he was talking about this single premium life insurance policy that some company was putting out. This is in 1982. That was paying, it paid 26% for 30 years, guaranteed 26%.
That is
right. If somebody put $100,000 in that, go run the math of how much money you can make off of like a pretty much a guarantee. Like I feel like there's that the things that the one thing to me, I guess, just to like balance the discussion on yields that has like yet to be seen is like even in the most credible entities that you put, like, you haven't had these like big blow up scenarios yet. Like, what don't we know? Like, what landmines exist? And I think that's something that really.
You mean like 2007, 2008, like what it?
Yeah, like what happens when Bitcoin and Ethereum retrace 60%? Like, how does that affect? Like, is there a cascade effect? Like, there's so much ETH wrapped up in yield products right now and TVL, right? Like, what happens when you start to unwind that? And that to me is like, it hasn't fully been proven out yet. Like, we've definitely had a few pullbacks, but like, have we seen like an exit?
Yeah.
And maybe we won't ever, but like, as a trader and being in the trading world for 25 years, I think like we won't see that ever as like the dumbest fucking thing you can ever say. So
yeah. I had this up. Do you guys really think world central banks won't be able to ban Bitcoin once they get annoyed by it? I think I just want to give you that my opinion is the opposite. I think that they'll just start buying it. Like, central banks are going to hold Bitcoin. I bet that I will even go as far as I bet that some central banks hold Bitcoin.
100%.
Can't tell me North Korea's central bank doesn't hold Bitcoin.
No. They can say what they want. I'm actually with you. I'm a believer that and I don't know this for fact, obviously, so this is purely speculation.
They might make it difficult on retail because they want to own more of it, but I don't see. First of all, a Bitcoin ban is sort of like a misnomer, right? Bitcoin can't be banned. What can be banned is the on ramps and the off ramps.
Correct.
Right. They can make it so you can't go back to dollars, but if there's a world where you can live in Bitcoin with your FTX card or whatever, as you said, then
right. Well, that's kind of the checkmate around. It's always been the checkmate around it, right? Like that, and people have to remember that. Like, you can't. A central bank or a government that tries to ban it, they're just pushing it darker. They're going to push it back into like, you're still going to be able to get it 5 ways from Sunday. You're not going to stop anybody from it. And by the way, like, you're not going to be able to do anything. Like, if somebody's obfuscating it from the government, like, you're never going to know it exists anyway.
Yeah, absolutely true. So I just want to address this. Was BlockFi around during the Corona dump? Yes, they were. And actually they survived it without a single liquidation. I'm not like a BlockFi homer. I had Zach Prince, the CEO, on the podcast like a month after that happened, and they were pretty proud that they had survived that without a hitch. But they've been around a long time. Yeah, they're not new. So I don't know if any of the big ones actually, even with that drop, they had to liquidate. I don't know who did or didn't, but most of them had their shit in order.
I do like the over collateralization concepts around some of the protocols is really a smart way to approach things. And I think as like things evolve, there'll be more and more layers of insurance and different ways to protect. And options markets play a big role in things like that. And as we develop more and more decentralized, a decentralized options network, that's definitely something that we've thought about that is a good institutional inroad. And I mean, it's one of the reasons that we are leaning into the vanillas too, because like ultimately the institutions are going to want to, they want standardized options, things that they're familiar with. And if we can deliver it at like exchange grade, the things that they're used to doing today, but in a decentralized, control your own funds, different way, then I think, there's going to be a much greater future with it. So,
I mean, is that just so like hedge funds can have their neutral strategy and hedge against everything, and they don't really have those products right now yet in crypto?
I mean, that and insurance companies. I mean, this is like the long ball to it. But but now, yeah, I mean, insurance or hedge funds are definitely in all types of derivatives markets in crypto. Like, I think there's quite a few at this point. So.
This guy said BlockFi is centralized. Good luck, but that's kind of the point we're making, right? Like, it's fun to decentralization is extremely important for those of us who are hardcore about it. We love it, but you're not getting grandma and grandpa in on the decentralization argument. They want it centralized, right? That's what people don't understand. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. Like, I don't think your comment is wrong by saying it's centralized. Good luck. It absolutely is on the verge of that.
I think grandma and grandpa are going to move on at some point, and the generation that like we're at the higher end is going to, you know, be the next kind of leadership. And then there's like, as generations move on, these layers of the onion just like peel back, and like things change. And part of it is because like the people that are leading tech and leading fintech, and they grew up, like the people that are leading our industry now, like grew up in gaming, and they grew up in, you know, all of that is affecting everything that is happening today. And like when you get into this kind of at this point, like I'm now looking at like my children and saying like, well, what do I want the world to be like when they're going
to be full Ready Player One, dude.
Oh yeah.
My daughter yesterday was like, when are the someday? She's 6, and she was like, when do I learn to drive? And I was like, never. The car is going to drive you. You're not going to learn to drive.
Which is going to be like a 22-year-old race car driver in some metaverse.
Yes,
in about 2
really,
years.
I mean, I think that's the reality. Is that, and so to that end, like as you said, like it doesn't really matter if boomers like adopt Bitcoin. It's cool. It'll make the number go up, but that's not.
I love it. Like I think the smartest play for boomers is yield.
Yeah, I agree.
Find yield and like don't be fearful of, oh, it's Bitcoin and it's for drug dealers and all that horse shit, because that's
I mean, it takes a long time to eliminate stupid narratives. Realistic price prediction end of 2020 and later years. I think we kind of addressed that, but I don't think either of us would be surprised 6-figure Bitcoin by the end of the year.
Yeah,
only a 2x.
It's so close.
It feels far because the number like $40,000 more dollars feels so huge, but you think in percentages, not in absolute. So exactly. I think it's nothing.
Exactly.
Nothing. If someone said to you, do you believe that Bitcoin can go up like 80% this year? Yeah, sure.
Look, I believe anything. Like I'm I mean, not in a gullible way, but like, like that anything can happen. Like I think Bitcoin, I think Bitcoin by the end of this year will be like, at least will touch like into that 140s number. Yeah. Before anything else happens. It's almost like, even if something bad happened, like I always fuck this saying up, but like you can't turn an aircraft carrier at port, right? And even if something bad happened, it's almost like, and I used to see this in the stock market all the time. You knew there was storm clouds on the horizon. Something bad was happening, or something bad had happened. But it was almost like there was a program buy in the market. It like had to finish its like what it was doing before it turns. And so like the idea of like just getting shorted at that moment, maybe there was a spike down, but there's always a spike down, and then there's a fucking rinse the other way that washes out your short. And that's one thing I can probably say. I've never been short Bitcoin.
I've scalp shorted it, but I've never been net short, not even remotely.
You can't be in this business and be that, but
right? Yeah.
But I've never even scalped it short, and I don't know if it's out of like psychological protest, but it's in the back of my mind, because I've had this happen when I was a younger trader, where I got short something on a short-term basis, and it totally killed my narrative for why I wanted to be long for the longer term. And like I got off sides on the short, and then sure enough, I got to my price target, and like all I did was like lay in the corner and suck my thumb because I was pissed.
So that's the sexy answer, but what's it based on outside of feelings? I'm assuming he's saying those targets. Well, first, like I think it's just rational. Bitcoin rarely has a year where it doesn't do those kind of percentage rises. It's very few years where Bitcoin is like net down. But further, for me, like if you need, it's not charts, right? I mean, it's fundamentals. So we've seen 5 companies come in What happens when that's 50 or 100? And they're coming, right? So they just haven't reported, or they're just whatever. And then what happens when we get an ETF? It's going to happen, right? We're going to get an ETF this year. Institutional money on the sidelines is coming in. I mean, there's just huge money coming in, and we see outflows from exchanges are, way outpacing inflows. It's just every metric is there to show that we're in the very early parts of a bull market and that will continue to rise. So I don't think that I literally don't think it has anything to do with feelings. I just think there's huge money, and there's more buyers than sellers. I mean, we're printing money. So
we're printing money. There's not a lot of Bitcoin on the market. It's being held off the market. There's more buyers than sellers, and you have derivatives also that, as things go up, leverage goes up, and which really just creates more volatility. But like we haven't had the real parabola yet. You haven't seen this. There's nothing about where we're at right now that looks like a top or even close to it. Like a top is high volatility, chaos.
2017. A top is when you look at one exchange and the price is 16,000, and you look at another and the price is 19,000.
Exactly. Coinbase to Binance. Exactly. I remember it. Yeah.
I mean, right at the top, there was literally like a $3,000 ARB opportunity if you was there. And someone just asked, how is this different than 2017, 18, and what went wrong? Well, first of all, I think that nobody understood Bitcoin in 17, 18 that was driving the market. I think it was just completely retail FOMO. Buy this thing because it's like Doge now, right? Buy this thing because it'll make you rich and the price will be higher when you sell it. Like no fundamental understanding, no reason to do it, which is like a playground for someone who wants to take advantage of it, right? A real whale in the market who'd been in since $5 Bitcoin or $100 Bitcoin. You had to be salivating there just selling into that the whole time. But this time, I think that was like FOMO. That was legitimate, like speculative FOMO. And this time, I think we have this weird, like, I call it hodl FOMO or something, like holding FOMO. People are FOMOing in because they think there won't be any left for them to hold.
That's exactly what's happening.
Right.
Exactly.
Like buy as much as I can before the price goes too high so I can move it. And this is different buyers. Like that was like your Uber driver. Not that there's anything wrong with Uber drivers, but I remember at the end of 2017 when literally everywhere you went, some random dude would tell you about Bitcoin and ask you if you'd heard of it.
Right. Well,
not a good sign.
Not at all. Not at all. And I also think the ICO craze was it had such a profound impact on the explosion in 2017, 2018. And like, it was 10 times worse than what's happening, that it's not happening now. Like, I mean, you see it like, yeah, I'm sure you can go to Binance Smart Chain and there's, new projects spinning up every 5 minutes. And there's, what did I see yesterday? Like somebody put a quote out. There was like 26 rug pulls in like one day or something. And
dude, you can like come up with an idea, launch it, and be trading on Binance within 9 days now. Like an ICO, at least it would like take 9 months or something.
Right. You had to go through the rigor. You had to get, you had to pay, figure out how to pay a lawyer $1 million and the whole shit.
It's bananas.
It was pretty insane. And I just see that has been removed. It's a little bit of a different beast in that way with DeFi and stuff, and definitely plenty of shitty projects out there, but a lot more projects with purpose, whether they did it right or not. Like, I think the intentions are generally good in a higher percentage of them. And I think it's going to have much more of an impact on like what the next 10 years looks like than a lot of the garbage that was existing in 2017, 2018.
This dude says Chicago is what went wrong. I'm assuming you mean CBOE and CME launch at the end of December, which is funny because they just launched ETH futures and everyone was like, ETH will die, and it didn't happen, right?
Yeah, that, and well, I appreciate what he's saying because I had this like instinct of that same thought when they announced that they're launching micro Bitcoin futures
just now. Yeah.
Yeah, because to me it reminded me of like I traded through the internet boom bust and like used to trade in like quarters, right? And then you had to trade in eighths, and then in sixteenths, And then it went to decimals. And when it went to decimals, all the spread, there was no edge to trade anymore. It was like the whole game changed. And I'm like, shit, they're going to go to micro Bitcoin futures. Like, how is this going to?
Yeah, it's a tenth instead of 5. I mean, it's a huge difference.
It's gonna change the game. Like I understand the purpose for a more concise hedge, but it'll bring up, what it'll do is it'll transpire. Either it's not going to pick up, but like if it did what it did to the S&Ps, like the bigs versus the minis, like the minis are where everything trades. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with. But that was one thing that I thought, like, well, if something like this took off, would it really kind of put a damper on volatility and on, you know, things like that. So like where you're going to need more money and bigger players to actually really move price. But
well, Ari Paul kind of talked about that. I remember he had a thread that was not too long ago where he was like, the real Bitcoin play is over, right? That was his
totally.
point. I'm not saying that's my position, but it was like that disproportionate upside versus other assets. Because I mean, there is an argument that once the huge money is here, the volatility will somewhat fade and it'll become a lot more stable, right? And then for traders or for people who are looking for that massive upside, maybe you have to find another asset or move down the coin market cap chart to the smaller
500
caps.
to 1,000. Yeah, could be. I don't know. But yeah, I think that back to price, it seems to make sense. It's not a ridiculous market. We're printing money nonstop. Like, I also still am a believer, and I've had a lot of people kind of, argue with me about this, is that when you see like $400,000-$500,000 Bitcoin, like a gallon of milk is going to be like $9, $10.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to be getting wealthier necessarily. Do you know
You're just not going to be getting poorer.
You're just not getting poor. You're hedging against, that's the store of value, like.
But that's what people don't realize. And I always laugh when people and it's not, I shouldn't say laugh, but when people talk about a store of value, stores of value are for rich people. And so there's different arguments for Bitcoin. We're seeing this solidifying of the digital gold asset, but like a person who lives check to check never owned gold.
Totally.
Right. So like when you talk, so Bitcoin is one thing for, people who want to save money and they can buy a little bit of it and maybe it'll appreciate. But really that store value narrative is for the rich people. And that's yet again another wealth divide situation. When you get, like Mark Yusko said to me the other day, he was like, concentration is incredible when you're young. And if you concentrate on the wrong thing, he's like, it's horrible. Obviously, most people go broke. They go all in on something. But if you're young and you went all in on Bitcoin and you made a shit ton of money, that's incredible. Like concentration's amazing. Diversifying is for rich people. Stores of value are for rich people. You don't diversify if you only have $1,000. You diversify when you want to protect your wealth.
I was talking to somebody, and I'm not going to name any names, obviously, but he got in a conversation with a founder about, and the founder was talking to him about diversifying. And I was like, man, you should sell the shit out of that coin because that guy got too rich.
Yeah.
Because now he's talking about like, how do I get my 6% to make sure that I don't dip into my principal.
Right, but exactly, because just what you're saying is like you might not, if a gallon of milk is $10, you didn't get any richer, but if you have a whole lot of money, you could get a whole lot poorer if you don't have that hedge. Like, and totally. that's the Michael Saylor. I mean, that's what he's saying, right? Like he thinks he's effectively losing 15-16% a year, being in dollars.
I mean, he's
so
right.
Anything to stop.
I support that 100%. I think it's it's interesting, like that. What I like seeing is that some of these, like not necessarily institutions, but kind of that next tier down is really, they've gotten much deeper. Everybody is so interested in DeFi, and like
they are.
It's all the like hedge funds, big trading firms. They're all dipping heavier and heavier into that, and so that to me is really what is most exciting. And like, it doesn't have to be Bitcoin in that way. And I think Ari's spot on there. Like it's that long tail upside is like, is not really there. Like you said, like 140 grand is fucking nothing. It's a 2x from here.
Yeah, you can do that in the stock market.
Exactly.
Like you can pick a stock and do that.
Exactly.
Like not even that exciting of a stock if you catch a good earnings call or something like that. The way that stocks have moved, like you could do that in herd. You could have done that.
I don't know.
Almost never.
Never.
I bought some like Sirius XM recently. I'm so disinterested in the stock markets.
Wait, was that a hint, Scott, or was that?
No, I talked about it. It was literally like, no, I just thought it would get short squeezed by Wall Street bets at the time. It did for one day, like whatever. But I mean, that's just not where the action is for me. And I have a certain level of like emotional disgust with the stock market. It's hard for me to like care. Just don't care, And I just think there's much more. I think there's just much more but that said, like I'm also not selling my stock.
Right.
It's just I really treat stocks like an old man. I like check them every few months, see if I need to buy or sell something.
This guy, somebody in the chat said DeFi is for rich people, enjoying poor people, and paying $100 for like that is you're equating DeFi with Ethereum.
Yeah,
like
correct.
That's just not like go do it on Solana and then talk about the transaction fee. Go do it on BSC and talk about the transaction fee. They're non-existent.
And also in the early days of things, they're inefficient. But by the way, I willingly pay $100 a transaction. And I still do it on Ethereum because the liquidity is there and I can fill a larger order. You know what I mean? So like if you're filling at 10,000, 15, 20, it ends up being 1%. It's a big fucking deal. Like it sucks, but it really is. Don't get me wrong. It's really prohibitive if you're trying to trade small.
It's hard. The hardest thing on Ethereum with that is actually like staking, like restaking. It makes it, if you're not doing it in like massive size, it makes it super cost prohibitive, which is a problem because it like the real key to staking is compounding it.
I mean, like the increase in gas fees just destroyed a lot of like small NFT artists and stuff. It was like horrible. They were making money selling NFTs for $40 and it became like $100 just to mint and send it to someone. And it becomes, go do a transaction on Solana. Go open a Solid wallet or Soulflare or wherever and do a transaction on Solana and go to the blockchain explorer and look at how it is like 0.000015 Solana. Dude, I talked to Justin's son and he said to me, like, I don't remember the number. It was like 60% of Tether volumes on Tron. And I was like, I call bullshit, dude. And he was right. Oh, it was? It's absolutely true because there's no transaction fees. So people are doing TRC, whatever it is. That's how a lot of people are sending. And then I started to get where like people had to send me small amounts. They were like, do you have like what is it? Is it TRC 20? I can't even remember. Honestly. Yeah, I think so. And they're like, yeah. They're like, can you open a wallet? Like, and they'd be like, if someone wants to send you $100 and it costs them $30 or $40, it's pretty annoying. But he was not like, that was actually true that people were using like at least a use case for TRX was to cheaply send Tether around. All right. I mean, look, I thought I literally I said, no, that's bullshit. It was true. Does he ever say anything true? That was true. Did he give the Tesla away? True. Did he ever give the Tesla away? I don't know if he did, but he just bought I just saw today that he bought a Picasso and a Warhol so that he could turn them into NFTs. Like actual Picasso and Warhol. Is he going to do the, is he going to destroy him? I think I don't know if he's going to do that. That's what they did with that Banksy. They put the Banksy injective protocol dudes did that. But, that was fucking genius, by the way. He put up like 68 million on that Beeple. He got outbid with 20 seconds left or something. But that dude's I didn't know that money. It's crazy. I mean, it's a crazy amount of money. But listen, Picassos and Warhols aren't going down in price anytime soon. Trying to check through the comments here and see what we got. Tether on Tron seems fitting. Sorry, I'm just trying to. I like that they compounded here the question. So, same guys will want to buy when gas fees are zero and the price is 20,000. No. The wealthy aren't getting poor, bro. I mean, hey, listen. If you just sit in a bank account with dollars, it's all relative. You're getting poorer. That's the bottom line. You might not get poor, but you're definitely getting poorer. Yes. This person said, do you think we reach a mill sooner than a decade? I would never make $1 million prediction, but I can only say that totally wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. If I had to take a yes or no and my life was on it, it's a yes.
Yeah. But it's a,
Bitcoin's
might be a sad
Bitcoin's
state of
programmed to go
affairs.
higher. There's a limited supply provided that this thing, something doesn't come out to replace it, just over time, it'll just keep migrating. And it's not to say that it's not going to go from 400,000 to 200,000 before it goes to 800,000 to 400,000 on its way to 1 million.
Yeah, someone just said BNB broke an all-time high. BNB 350 just now. It's like you said. I mean, months ago you told me, you were like, I think BNB is something to go heavy in. We were just kind of privately discussing. And now they've actually given it more utility with Pancake Swap and, basically effectively paying gas fees or whatever you want to call it in BNB.
I got lucky, dude. In August when BSC launched, I moved not a crazy amount, but a meaningful amount of Binance of BNB into WBNB. This is like August, right?
Yeah.
And so it's sitting in a wallet, and I totally forgot about it. And then literally like 3 weeks ago, I was like, wait, what's this, like this weird address in this MetaMask? And I went and pulled it down, and like there was a bunch of fucking WBNB in there. I was like,
not the worst feeling in the world.
That's rare. Yeah. Usually you get it stolen.
Actually, I want to show something. I gotta be able to pull it up here. But I literally did a video on this like 2 days ago.
Oh, nice.
So I pulled a BNB chart, and it was like here. I was like, dude, this is going to 600. So here we are at 350. But yeah, I mean, if you like that as a flagpole, I mean, that's the cleanest bull pennant you'll ever see. Ever.
I mean, look at just like all of us, like CZ, they're building a financial system, which will be one of many. Like, I think you're absolutely crazy if you don't own FTT.
Yeah, just utilities. Exchange tokens.
Just own them, because they're like. I mean, what's crazy is that, like, I think Binance, did it go down to like $8 at the low?
Oh yeah, it was bad.
What was it in March?
Look, dude, it's not even 4. Yeah, here, $6.
What the fuck? That was in 2020.
On that day. Well, that was actually the 13th. So it was the day after. No, was it the 12th? It's hard. Yeah, the 13th. The day after Bitcoin crash was here. There was a wick down. So it was trading at 9 and went to 6. Oh my God. And what a fucking epic trade.
Dude, look at that.
It's a bananas chart. And the funny thing is that 6 wasn't even that low if you consider where it started, like $1.50.
This is the thing that, like, one thing that in the last couple of years with crypto that has really helped me, and I would encourage everybody that's listening, like, literally zoom out. Like, your heart rate will cut in half. Your life will get easier. Like, zoom the fuck out. You should be, depending on how old you are and whatever, like, you should have something that you want to keep working and active and be aggressive with, but you have these core positions and things like, that's the big difference from 2017, 2018. I mean, like, now, like, there's certain things that, like, you just need in your portfolio. It's like your grandpa needing to own IBM, like in the fucking 50s or whatever. Yeah. Everybody's grandpa had some
Xerox.
What do they call it? Telephone. AT&T was telephone at the time. And because the telephone was relatively new concept. And but there's certain things you need to own, and like, you should actually want cycles to happen, because it'll give you opportunities to buy what will end up being value. Like, Binance that was a period, by the way, like, volumes were insane because the market was going crazy. Like, Binance was killing it. There's no reason that Binance token should be shitting the bed at $6. Liquidations, people needing to, like, it probably was like some type of covering that was going on. But give me a break. Like, that token is worth well more than $6. So, like, you should be happy when it goes there, not like, oh my God, my life's over. You should be like, okay, like, what can I sell to get into this? And then put it somewhere that, like, put it somewhere that you don't ever want to touch it. Put it up somebody's ass. Like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
stick it
so
somewhere that
easy.
you'll never forget about.
In people's defense, that's so easy to say now.
Hindsight, right?
But no, I mean, I agree with you. And listen, I bought Bitcoin at 4,000. I like almost puked when I did it, but you know what I mean? Like, and that's honestly when you want to feel sick when you buy something, by the way, guys.
100% agree.
Awful. You want to feel like you're making the worst decision of your life because that means that you're probably doing it at the right time. On the flip side of that, also, like if you're down on something and you're just ready to hit the sell button, just go ahead and buy. To exactly the opposite of what your instinct tells you. But yeah, I mean, that was the day literally that people said everything's going to zero. Like everything's going to zero.
It didn't.
And
by the way,
here we are. 300. What is it? $350. It was $6. That makes me want to puke that I don't have that right now. Like that I didn't buy that.
That's $6. Yeah. $6. $6 for BNB. It's never gonna. You'll never see a trade at $6 again.
A cool 50 something X. Yeah. It's
pretty.
Although in DeFi you can do that in a day, by the way. 50
Yes.
Or whatever. I mean, it really is crazy. But if someone says we're talking your language, it's good to be here. Yeah, we're talking everyone's language because both of us trade and we know it's.
You don't think like this is not. It hasn't been a straight line. Like I've gone to zero more than once, and like it's not any. Like luckily I did it when I was young, but it's definitely not an easy path, and it teaches you good lessons. And man, it's quite a road to.
Well, you have to get destroyed. Unfortunately, you have to. You had an amazing story about getting absolutely fucking destroyed.
Yeah,
I believe you said you were in the fetal position on your couch with your thumb in your mouth.
I was,
if I recall correctly.
I think it was it was actually my parents' couch. Yeah.
Well, it's even worse when you end up on the parents' couch because
I had to go back to the womb really quickly because I was not feeling good about it. But,
yeah, that's the funny thing is like everybody's a genius in a bull market. There's all these people. I mean, there's just people who've never like experienced a bear market or a winter and just think they're God's gift to trading.
The thing I don't get is why do people get so cruel during bear markets? Like, what is it that people feel the need that they got to take everything out on everybody else? Just like you have to someone needs to sign a waiver when you start trading. That's just like, I make my own decisions. Like, this is life in the NFL. Like, I am competing against the smartest people on the planet. Like, don't forget that. Like, and trading's a game at the end of the day. And it's like, it's a high stakes one. And I really think like this whole thing about people like, I mean, I've seen it in crypto more than anything. Like they're like the level of like pitting blame on anything that they can get their hand on, or like the guy that happened to like get out near the high is suddenly like fucking Darth
Vader. He's a scammer, or he's lying. It's like you can't believe that anybody possibly made money if you did
something right.
Here's funny. I literally tweeted this today to this end. I'm trying to see if I can find it. Damn it. Where is it? Here it is. Babies need to be spoon-fed. Asking for targets, stop losses. What coin will do the next 100x? Information can easily be Googled when Moon, etc., is asking to be spoon-fed. Don't be a baby, you baby. That's it, you know?
Wait, what did he say?
The funny thing is you never get credit when they do well.
No.
Like you randomly throw a call out there and it does crazy, and like nobody's ever like, wow, man, that was a pretty good call. But they'll remember exactly like
when you hiccuped, right?
I mean, somebody said that I got paid to like FUD Link a few years ago or whatever, like when Zeus Capital, which is obviously untrue. And literally I get like 15 comments a day about that.
Still?
Like every day. Every day. Every day. But that's the thing is people don't like, you're responsible for your own financial decisions, but people don't want to be responsible for them. It's a lot easier to just say to place blame and not ever take any ownership for it.
Wait, so someone here, so most poor people in crypto don't have the luxury to invest long-term or forget a wallet full of, okay. Well, first of all, like you're in a game here that like you have potentially a greater probability that you're going to lose money actually. Um, why are you taking the few dollars that you need to put food on the table and investing it and putting it into crypto then?
That's right.
Try to figure out a different way of using crypto other than
get paid in it or something.
Earn it.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of a silly argument. I mean, it's like investing 101 that you need to have an emergency fund, unfortunately, of cash before you even start investing or get out of debt. Like I hear about people all the time. They're like, I'm buying Bitcoin, but have credit card debt. Like if you're paying 25% credit card debt and you're buying Bitcoin, that's not a good financial decision, unfortunately.
No, that's a low probability it's going to work out, but you do see this. You see the rare stories when it does, which is
well, I mean, Bitcoin has been outpacing that debt. If you're actually selling some to pay the debt, though, because that's the problem is you have to actually sell it.
Exactly. The God, what was I going to say? Oh, just back to that point again. It kind of irked me a little bit. That is the whole concept of decentralized networks. Also, like we're building Hero Network. Like I don't care what country you're from, who you are, what you look like, what your financial status is. Like you have an ability to come earn and be a part of a community, like be part of an ecosystem. Like it's not just Hero. There's numerous ecosystems in this industry that you can get involved in and like provide some type of even minimal effort and be rewarded for it. Like that's one of the amazing things about crypto. That's one of the reasons that you should be here.
And you don't have to have a college education to get those.
And you don't. What do you? Let me ask you a question because I don't know how we are on time, but like
that's fine.
You went to a good school. Like, what's your prediction on what happens with college education?
They won't exist. They won't exist.
How's it going to change?
I went to the University of Pennsylvania, like at the time, definitely one of the more expensive schools, and I dicked off most of the time. I mean, I showed up, but like I always comment that I didn't learn anything particularly valuable in college, especially in those years. And now the velocity of information is even crazier, but that was kind of like the beginning of the internet and stuff. So anything we learned by our freshman year was basically like invalidated by our senior year. Just because it was like that time when information was becoming, but the connections and friendships and the social skills those have like lasted a lifetime and have created endless opportunities. So for me, it was worth it, but I don't think generally college is worth it unless you're going to be a lawyer, a doctor, pre-professional, and you have to do it to get into some sort of graduate school.
Yeah, I mean, I had a political science degree, like it.
Yeah, I was an anthropology major.
Did nothing for me, except I learned about presidential election theory, which that's probably the only value that I got, and the parties.
Yeah, exactly. But moving into you can take every MIT lecture effectively online for free. So if it's about acquiring the knowledge, you can get the knowledge that you can get at the top tier universities completely for free, and that was not the case back then. So now it becomes a question of how much you're willing to pay for the certificate, in my mind.
I was talking to somebody. I forgot who this was, but they were talking about their son, who is a very smart kid, who's an engineer, and like it's a family of like they all went to good schools, and their son was not going to school and ended up. He went to his dad and was like, "I'm actually just now being paid $290,000 a year to be an engineer at this XYZ company."
I thought you were going to say OnlyFans, but no, I guess that's better.
I think they make a lot more money on OnlyFans, by the way.
I think that's probably true, actually.
Pretty insane.
But yeah, I did. You did allude to it. We're kind of running into it here. So any like party, I actually love to hear though, like what the big macro future plan is for you guys, specifically. And I know obviously the move to Solana is absolutely huge. So what is that?
We're so excited about that, and we're leaning in really hard on that. And it's really just going to be about, building the tooling and plumbing of Hero Network. And we're going to be launching putting out the light paper and a closed alpha of the parimutuel markets, which is the first protocol that we're launching on it, shooting for the end of next week, and then from there it's going to be really a press into vanilla options and some other light exotic options, and really focusing on building out this exchange tooling and plumbing, and getting the kind of the flywheel going on the network side. And again, all value, it's going to have full staking and multiple nodes, multiple ways to participate in the network, and value accrual, full value accrual back to the token, which we're really excited about, and really excited to share the opportunity with the community, and hopefully it scales beyond beyond our expectations. And we think it will. We think the timing's perfect for it. So
I'm gonna have to move to Europe so we can use it.
That's
America, land of the free, home of the.
The interesting thing, right? The question is we're really focused in on the plumbing. So if you think about it, it's operator nodes that are at the application layer that have the user pools. So this is exchange plumbing. So basically, if you had a US based operator node that was US regulatory compliant, then you could that's part of the scale idea here. It's we know we can't be all things to all people. Let's lay the foundation for tooling and plumbing for what we think the future should look like, and then have set up for operators to come and build to it, or connect into the network. You get the benefits of the liquidity aggregation across multiple different venues participating in the same liquidity, and then there's a lot of reflexive properties from that really can grow. So
love it. It's amazing, man. Well, thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and look forward to seeing you soon. And
I'm sure we'll talk. I'm sure we'll talk before we actually see each other.
Yeah, probably. I would guess so.
All right, brother. Thank you, man.
All right, Scott. Thanks, bro.
Peace, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
That's dope.